Hello everyone! Today we're going to work on making a Hello World program, which quite simply is a program that says Hello World on our screen. Once we do that, we will know that all of our program compiler, linker, all of our programming tools that they're working, which is good. And then also it will get your feet wet in the basics of C++. So let's create a folder. We'll call it Hello World. And then I'm going to open it with Visual Studio Code. If you're on Windows, you can still do these types of steps. It's just that you will have to open Visual Studio Code first, go under File, and then open a folder or open Workspace. In this case, they should be the same thing. All right, so we have just brand new Visual Studio Code window here. Here's our workspace, Hello World, and it's completely empty. So we're going to add a main.cpp. And I will enter this code in here real quick. And then we'll step through it and explain what it all means. All right, this is our entire program. How cool is that? Now let's run it. Make sure it works. Oh man, it won't work because we don't have anything configured yet. Fortunately, the newest version of Visual Studio Code will basically automatically configure this stuff for you. Now you'll want to make sure that you have C installed by Microsoft. We'll click Run and Debug. We're using GDB. We're going to use G++ as our compiler. And it does all this stuff for us. And it says that it exited with code 0. It automatically made us a launch.json, which is awesome. It did not used to make working stuff right off the bat. It would make this file pretty good, but this pre-launch task didn't used to exist. You would have to write it yourself. Now there's a fun little caveat with this. It says to use the current file that you are looking at. Now, if you ever try to run like this task.json, it's going to blow up. I'll prove it to you. Or run it. And it blew up. It says it can't build the active file. Yes, the active file is this. If you click on this tab and try it again, it will work. So if you're ever scratching your head, looking through this file, trying to test it, it's the fact you're looking at that file that it doesn't work. Now, obviously, you can change that from this file to just like main.cpp and it will always work. And then you can add in your additional files as you add more and more. But we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to just do is let you know if you're on this tab or this tab, or essentially if you're not on this tab and you try to run it, it's not going to work. Anyway, when we did run it, you can see it said Hello World. Great, this video's done, right? Okay, that would be mean. No, we're going to explain what this is actually doing. So this very first thing in green, normally you won't see that, but I added it so that you can see what a comment is. When you start with // or if you want to do a block, you can do this. And then you need that. So // will give you one line of comments. And what a comment is this information that tells people what your code is doing, but it isn't actually put into the program at the very end. So it's in the source code, but it's not in the binary file. So you can write an entire book in here and it won't make your final program any bigger. Obviously, the more you write in comments, the more you have to maintain. But if there's something that you're looking at and is confusing, a comment could save you potentially hours of going through, and especially if somebody else has to look at your code, it might save you from getting death threats in the mail or something. Obviously, I'm kidding, but you will have one person not mad at you, hopefully. Now, when you start with // as I said, it's only one line. When you start with /*, you are able to do multiple lines. Everything is commented until you get to //. And the little red squigglies mean that spell check isn't happy with me. In this case, apparently, probably because I have semicolons in there. Yes, it will still compile because it's a comment. So, yeah, those red squigglies were basically the program catching up with me, saying that all this stuff is not valid code. Yes, it's a comment. And then it obviously realized it was a comment and said, okay, there are no red squigglies. The red squigglies tell you that you did something wrong. And oftentimes you will see a little light bulb, and the light bulb means I'm trying to help you fix your problems. So we don't have any problems right now, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, IOStream is a library that is automatically going to come along for free, and that means input-output stream. That gives us the ability to display things on the console and get input from the users. Now, int main is our starting function. It's always called main. It has these little parentheses, which means that it is a function, and this means it is returning an integer. So, what does returning an integer mean? It means that we need to have a return, and we're returning 0. 0 means no errors. Our program ran and it was successful. If you made that a 1 or a -1 or anything else, that means something went wrong. You don't really have to worry about that a whole lot, so we're going to just say, remember, this is how you get your program to start running. These little curly braces mean that everything in between them is part of this function. So for your first time looking through it, just memorize these things and they'll make more sense as you go along. After that, we have this std for standard, we have a double colon, and we have cout. We have these little arrows pointing at it. We have hello world, some more arrows, and then we have standard end L for end line. Now, as you hover over it, you'll see it automatically puts in these things for your reading pleasure. And they're helpful. Like this says, it writes a new line, it flushes a stream. This manipulator is often mistakenly used when a simple new line is desired, leading to poor buffering performance. And then you can go to this web link and learn more about it. Yes, that's true. Instead of that, we could have just done this, and that will also give us a new line. But I am purposely doing this so that you can see how these commands work. Now, you might be thinking, why can't I just do cout? Why do I need std in front of it for standard? And the reason for that is this is a namespace. What is a namespace? A namespace essentially is a container. So, as you program with object-oriented languages, you will see that you have lots of containers. A class is essentially a container. A namespace is essentially a container. There's lots of containers. And what that allows you to do is allows you to organize your code in a very hierarchical way. And what a namespace, why? Why do we have this? Well, before you had namespaces, like when you're working with C, you don't have namespaces. So if you want to have a cout function, that's great. You can say, I made my own cout function, but what if somebody else makes their own cout function that's super fast and it's better than sliced bread. It's just great. Well, they can't call it cout. They have to call it something else because there already is something called cout. What this namespace allows us to do is it allows us to have cout inside of this container, and then you can create your own cout, or somebody else can create it, but they have to just put it in their own container. It allows you to have duplicate names without them clashing with one another. And endl, if you figured out, stands for end of the line. And what that allows us to do is essentially put in a new line character. These little descriptions that pop up are helpful. They tell you information that you need to know. And what this is doing is these little arrows, this is a stream in C++, so it's a little unique. These little arrows basically mean you're passing this into this object. For sake of easiness, just remember that the little arrows point into cout to pass things into it, and in the future when we work with cin to get input from users, the arrows point out of it because you're trying to get something from cin. Anyway, we'll just run this again. I'm trying to keep this video short, believe it or not, and not get into too crazy of depth. Okay, there we go. Hello world. So we have a working program. So you have made a hello world program. And I just want to do one other thing with namespaces. This is something you're not supposed to do. So naturally, I'm going to show it to you. If you do using namespace standard, you no longer need to specify that this is coming from standard anymore, because it just assumes you're using standard. Now, why are you not supposed to do this? Well, like we said before, if you add a library that has like an endl in it or a cout, and you say using namespace standard, and then let's say you're in the habit of doing it, so you do using namespace whatever their namespace is, you have this naming conflict again, and you have to figure out which one was it using originally and why is your code broken, and it will save you headaches by not necessarily doing this. In a program this small, could you get away with it? Probably. But standard convention says don't do that. However, you now know how to do it. And you know, if you see it, what it is doing. So that is all I have for you for this simple Hello World program. It says Hello World on your screen. We know that what we're building works. You know a couple things that if you see errors, you know why you're getting that error. And I hope that you have a good day and that this all works for you. And the best way to learn programming is to type along and to do the same things that you see. So if you haven't done that and you want to make sure it's working on your machine, go ahead and rewind this video, watch it again, watch as many times as you need, and good luck programming. Hey, you made it to the end of another video. Great! Don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see here and click that bell so you stay up to date. And also, if you liked this video, please remember to click the like button. I really appreciate it, and it helps other people be able to find this information. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video.